afternoon and welcome to Live at 4 on this chilly Thursday.
Boy, that sunshine is deceiving out there, isn't it?
It is. The wind.
Oh, it was really cold
cuts
today.
right through you. We'll get to the weather in just a minute, but first, we are following breaking news on this Thursday. A hit-and-run investigation near Mount Horeb has turned into a homicide investigation.
Senators become jurors today in Washington as the articles of impeachment against President Trump are delivered to the Senate.
And more than a dozen Madison National Guard members are on their way to the Middle East. We were there at their send-off.
Let's take a look outside today. Nice and sunny, but frosty outside. Everything is frozen.
Yeah, below zero wind chills. I tell you, it's the cold before the storm. I guess pick your poison here. Chris Reese is out in the backyard with more details on that.
Yeah, that's certainly right. Things have been cold all day long. We're going to warm up in time, but when we warm up, we're going to see more moisture coming our direction. That'll be the next storm. Get this, our high today was 24. That's deceiving, though, because that happened at midnight. Temperatures since then have been much colder. This afternoon, we only made it up towards 13 degrees. We are now at 12. Those temperatures will continue to drop once again as we head through the rest of tonight. In fact, I'm talking temperatures down towards 2. Now, Doppler track is free of any kind of snowflakes falling around Wisconsin right now, but we're watching the storm system that you see across the Texas Panhandle and throughout parts of New Mexico, Oklahoma, and Kansas. This is what is going to be the next weather maker for us. It's coming our direction, and by this time tomorrow, it will be here, and I believe it's going to have negative impacts on that evening commute. So you want to make sure that you stay tuned here by about 4:30, 4:25-ish when I give you the full breakdown on what we can expect from that one. In the meantime, this is the Beltline at Todd Drive right now. No major issues. Traffic seems to be moving along smoothly. Of course, we're going to keep you guys up to date on the traffic, and we're going to watch those slowdowns and how they continue to add up on the Beltline and surrounding roads as we go through the show.
All right, Chris, thanks so much.
My pleasure.
There is breaking news within the last hour. The Middleton Police Department has selected their replacement for Chief of Police Captain Troy Hellenbrand. He'll be replacing retired Chief Chuck Floke. There's more on our website, channel3000.com. What started as a hit-and-run investigation this morning is now being looked at as a homicide.
Amy Reed joins us now with what we know so far about a jogger that was killed in Mount Horeb. Amy?
Up until the autopsy started, the Dane County Sheriff's Office thought the 26-year-old was killed by a driver. Now these preliminary results show death was not the result of a motor vehicle crash. The scene where this might have happened on Highway JG near Burgum Road is still blocked off this afternoon. The Sheriff's Office said they responded to a deceased person found on the side of the road. They haven't released his name yet, but they said he was 26 and dressed in running clothes. People saw him running around Mount Horeb around 12:45 and 1:15 yesterday afternoon. Since this investigation has changed and there are no leads yet, they want your help.
Based on some information we got early this morning, we're looking at different avenues, and our goal right now is just to get the public to call with any kind of tips or information they can to help us with this investigation.
If you have information about what might have happened, if you were around Mount Horeb yesterday afternoon, and especially if you have video of this area, Highway JG and Burgum Road, that's the road to Tyrol Basin, please call one of these numbers. That's the Dane County Communications Center non-emergency line at 608-255-2345 or the Dane County Sheriff's Office tip line at 608-284-6900. The Sheriff's Office said any help, even small details we might not think could help, could make a difference here.
Amy, thank you.
And we're following more breaking news this afternoon in Middleton.
Witnesses say at least 3 people could have been seriously injured after a car crashed into a building. Our Gabriella Becerra is there now with more. Gabriella?
Mark and Susan, just after 2 o'clock, police and fire responded to an incident just off of Airport Road in Middleton where a car drove through a building. Now, if you look behind me, they're securing this area now, and the fire chief was not able to speak to any injuries that happened, but he did say that there were 3 people inside the building that happened to be away from their desks, but if they weren't, it could have been more serious. This building belongs to Hart de Noble Builders, and right now it looks as if they're repairing that area so that, you know, it's secure for the night. But if you stay with us, we will bring you more information on News 3 Now at 5.
All right, Gabby, we'll see you then. Thank you.
An historic day on Capitol Hill as senators took the oath to become jurors in the impeachment trial of President Trump, which will officially get underway in days. The pre-trial proceedings are happening as new interviews allege the president was aware of a pressure campaign on Ukraine. Natalie Brand is on Capitol Hill with more.
You will do impartial justice according to the Constitution and laws, so help you God.
Chief Justice of the United States John Roberts sworn senators as jurors in the impeachment trial of President Trump. Moments before, Roberts also took an oath to serve as presiding officer.
So help you God.
I do.
Senators must still vote on the rules of the trial. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says that will happen early next week. Earlier, the 7 House managers once again marched across the Capitol into the Senate chamber, where they formally presented the articles of impeachment.
President Trump thus warrants impeachment and trial, removal from office, and disqualification to hold and enjoy any office of honor, trust, or profit under the United States.
The House impeached President Trump on charges of abuse of power and obstruction of Congress. House Democrats allege the president pressured Ukraine to announce an investigation into a political rival using military aid as leverage.
The Independent Government Accountability Office issued a legal opinion Thursday that the administration violated the law by withholding the military assistance. And Lev Parnas is talking to the media. The indicted former associate of President Trump's personal lawyer, Rudy Giuliani, claims the president knew about his efforts to pressure Ukraine.
President Trump knew exactly what was going on. Everybody was in the loop.
Nobody on TV like that is under oath. And he obviously is desperate to get attention.
The White House questions Parnas' credibility. He faces charges in a separate campaign finance case. Natalie Brand, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Ukrainian officials have announced an investigation after the House released documents from Lev Parnas that show the ousted former ambassador to Ukraine, Marie Yovanovitch, may have been under illegal surveillance.
We now know what was said during that brief yet tense conversation between Senators Elizabeth Warren and Bernie Sanders moments after the Democratic presidential debate in Iowa on Tuesday.
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
What?
I think you called me a liar on national TV.
Let's not do it right now. You want to have that discussion, we'll have that discussion. You called me, you told me. All right, let's not do it now.
I don't want to get. I just want to say hi, Bernie.
Yeah, good.
CNN has released the audio of the post-debate confrontation. Sanders and Warren have avoided attacking one another so far in the campaign, and the two senators agree politically on most issues. But it is clear whatever happened during a private meeting between the two in 2018 is causing a rift in their relationship. Warren claims Sanders said a woman couldn't win the presidency, but Sanders denies saying that.
Senator Sanders is getting some support from a Wisconsin lawmaker. Democratic Representative Mark Pocan is endorsing Sanders. He did not endorse anyone in 2016. Congressman Pocan says he feels a connection with Sanders and thinks he is best positioned to win Wisconsin and to defeat President Trump. A Wisconsin-based guard unit said its farewells to family today in Madison.
They are heading to the Middle East, and Eric Franke has more on the send-off and the mission itself. Eric.
Yeah, Mark and Susan, you know, it's never easy to leave family and friends behind, but these 15 folks, they know what they signed up for. They know the drill. Doesn't make it any easier, though. The 15 soldiers who make up the Milwaukee headquartered 924th Engineering Facilities Detachment are set to deploy to the Middle East. The governor was there to mark the occasion. They'll do some work on a base in Kuwait. All of them have construction and engineering experience with their full-time gigs, so they'll basically serve as the Department of Public Works for what equates to a small city on base in Kuwait.
We all raised our right hand and committed to this. So now it's time. You know, it's our turn. We're up. You know, countless other soldiers have done it in the past, and so we're ready to.
Now, they'll first spend some time in Fort Bliss, Texas, training to transition to the warm desert heat of Kuwait. Now, the good news is for the families they leave behind, they got the holidays behind them with family, and they are expected to return in time for Thanksgiving in November, and also, as Captain Flatten points out, in time for deer hunting season as well. Mark, Susan?
We wish them well.
Thank you, Eric. The Republican-controlled state legislature's Finance Committee is set to consider whether to release more money to continue a study on high-capacity wells impact in central Wisconsin's groundwater. The GOP passed a bill in 2017 requiring the State Department of Natural Resources to study effects in several counties, including Adams and Portage. The fund is built largely from fees Wisconsin landfills pay the state for each ton of solid waste deposited in their facilities.
We're learning more today about another incident at Jefferson Middle School. Madison police say a student was taken to the hospital with a concussion after being attacked by a classmate yesterday afternoon. The victim told police he has been bullied by the boy who hit him. The attacker was removed from the classroom and taken to the juvenile reception center. You may recall Jefferson Middle School was at the center of an incident where 2 students were shot with a BB gun by one of their peers. In an email to parents, Assistant Principal Larry Love says, given the recent challenges Jefferson staff and families have been working through together, I wanted to make sure that I am being as transparent as possible with you. He also notes the appropriate consequences will be implemented.
Investigators say new DNA testing could help solve a Jane Doe case from the 1990s. Officials say DNA found on an unidentified man found near the state line in 1993 may have ties to an American Indian tribe in South Carolina and to people in Mexico. Originally investigated as a homicide, is now being reclassified as undetermined. Investigators are working with the coroner's office near the reservation in South Carolina.
Let's take a live look outside at Lake Mendota, where it officially looks like winter. The Wisconsin State Climatology Office says the lake has frozen over. The office requires the ice to hold for 24 hours before a lake can be officially declared frozen over. January 12th is 2 days after last year's second freeze. The Clean Lakes Alliance is now preparing for its annual Frozen Assets Festival on February 8th. WISC-TV News 3 Now is a sponsor of that event.
Well, after a tumultuous week for the British royal family, Prince Harry was spotted today at Buckingham Palace. It's his first public appearance since he and his wife Meghan announced plans to step back as senior royals. The Duke of Sussex was all smiles at Buckingham Palace as he met with children for a rugby event. He looked happy and relaxed just 3 days after attending a crisis summit with the Queen. What remains unclear if this will be his last public engagement. 5,000 miles away, paparazzi caught Meghan braving the cold in Vancouver before visiting a shelter and another charity supporting young women.
It feels like she's already carving out that new role in Canada while details are being thrashed out here as to what that role is going to look like.
And there's more unfinished business for the royal couple, including a lawsuit against a British newspaper for publishing private letters between Meghan and her father. As the paper mounts its defense, there is speculation Thomas Markle could be called to testify against his own daughter.
Well, still to come tonight on Live at 4, online shopping has hurt brick and mortar stores.
But now there's a new shopper in town, virtual reality shopping. We'll tell you how it works when Live at 4 continues.
You're watching News 3 Now, live at 4.
Well, Americans got hit hard last year with those annoying phone calls. YouMail, a company that provides a service to block robocalls, reports nearly 59 billion robocalls last year. That's up 22% from 2018. Texas and California got the most, more than 6 billion. 7 other states, Florida, Georgia, New York, Ohio, Pennsylvania, North Carolina, and Illinois, got more than 2 billion robocalls. President Trump recently signed a new anti-robocall bill into law. Officials can now fine companies $10,000 for each illegally placed call.
I think I got half of those.
Me too. Me too. They're so annoying. Well, most parents know, and this is a huge battle, kids love screen time.
But limiting that time, that TV or iPad time, and reading to children instead will boost their brain development. This first scan is from a preschooler who's often read to by a caregiver. The red areas show a growth in organized white matter supporting language and literacy development. The second scan is from a child who likely spends about 2 hours a day with screens. The blue shows massive underdevelopment in the same areas needed to support learning. Researchers at the Cincinnati Children's Hospital also gave cognitive tests to children. They found that kids who use screens more than an hour a day had poorer emerging literacy skills and less ability to use expressive language. However, children who frequently read books with their caregiver scored higher on the tests. Well, Disney Plus already has more than 41 million subscribers since launching 2 months ago.
According to USA Today, those 41 million subscribers are about a quarter of the total audience of Netflix, the current leader of streaming content. Experts say Disney Plus has brought in an estimated $97.2 million with those subscriptions since launching in November. Disney charges $6.99 a month to subscribe. Well, with online sales growing, brick and mortar stores are looking for new ways to stay competitive.
At this concept store, you can grab items and skip the checkout. Cameras see what shoppers take, and payment is sent directly from your mobile device when you walk out of the door. It's just one of the high-tech innovations recently on display at the National Retail Federation Expo in New York. The company Valtech has a VR shopping experience that allows customers to check out the latest camping gear. This blending of the real and virtual worlds is part of an effort to attract shoppers, especially younger generations. Intel's Jose Avalo says businesses need to offer them something unique.
It needs to be convenient in many cases, it needs to provide an experience, and it also needs to provide the capabilities of online.
And some stores now have Miomis. That's a digital mirror that lets shoppers pick the best makeup colors for their complexion without using a brush. The smart software also helps them test out hair color.
That's a cool thing.
That is a cool thing. Well, all 3 stock market benchmarks set new records today after trade deals were sealed with China, Mexico, and Canada. The Dow Industrials added 267 points, closing at 29,297. The NASDAQ was up 98 points. The S&P 500 gained 27. Again, all record closes. Bless you. It's almost time for the weekend in the 608.
Somebody in the weather office just sneezed.
I don't know if the mics
loud.
picked that up or not.
Leah Linscheid has a look at what's going on around town this weekend.
Hi, Mark and Susan. Well, in case you didn't know, I'm a huge country music lover, so this first one's piquing my interest. Singer-songwriter Dwight Yoakam is bringing his band to the Overture Center. He has more than 20 albums and more than 20 Grammy Award nominations under his belt. And turns out he's an actor, too, playing memorable characters in the movies Sling Blade and Logan Lucky. He's also popped up in TV shows like Under the Dome and Goliath. And a series of music fests continues Saturday night at the Majestic with the Wisconsin Funk Fest. It features local favorites Fat Function, Immigrant, Black Market Brass, the Funky JBs, and DJ Phil Money. Here's a fun one. The Madison Roller Derby opens its 16th season with a doubleheader on Saturday at the Coliseum. First, the Reservoir Dolls take on the Vaudeville Vixens. Then the Quad Squad faces off against the Unholy Rollers. Great names there. Come out to the Coliseum at 5 p.m. to support all the full contact female empowerment fun that is roller derby. And if elegance is more your taste, you can check out the latest Madison Ballet performance. It's performing Inside Out, sharing the life of dancers of color who struggle to meet the demands of conforming to traditional beauty norms. You have a chance to catch this one-of-a-kind performance Saturday and then the following weekend at the Bartell. And of course, for the best in the Madison area, be sure to check out this month's edition of Madison Magazine. We'll keep you updated with the latest happenings in the 608 tomorrow and this weekend on News 3 Now this morning.
And I think a lot of people are going to be watching a certain football game.
Yes, you're right. Thank you, Leah.
Still to come at 4, cleaner, greener Wisconsin in the future.
That is the focus of a renewable energy summit in Madison today. We'll take you there for a peek at the future coming up after Chris's first alert forecast.
Take a look at this. Two crazy things happened in this video captured in Washington, D.C. First, the building on the corner suddenly collapses. Somebody call the fire department. Never mind, they're already here. A second later, a fire crew rolls up, ready to begin working the scene. The crew treated a passerby who received non-life-threatening injuries from the collapse, and the department later tweeted that the building was under renovation when it happened. As for the lucky timing, the fire department said the truck just happened to be returning to a nearby station. It was in the right place at the right time.
Timing is everything, isn't it?
See, the building goes down, and then the fire department's right there. All right.
Good stuff. So it was bitterly cold.
Get this.
Oh, we've got this first. Okay, in the grip of the Russian winter, the Moscow State University Botanical Garden is offering visitors a taste of tropical summer.
Yeah, stunning orchids bloom in the warmth of the garden's glasshouse while winter reigns outside. Visitors soon warm up when they step into the Tropical Winter Festival. It's a stunning display of orchids, predatory plants, and succulents back for the 11th year. There are thousands of different types of orchids and tropical plants, some outstanding for their color, others for their incredible aromas and rarity.
Such a good idea.
Beautiful flowers, wow. In the middle of winter.
Yeah, there are none of those around here.
Well, maybe
if there are,
Orville Gardens will have some.
yeah, that is true.
yeah.
You have to go inside.
Inside,
That is true. But in terms of what's outside, if it's there, it's getting covered up real soon. Because we're talking more accumulating snow that I think is going to have negative impacts to your evening commute tomorrow. Let's talk about that right after this break. Well, winter weather advisories are in effect for pretty much the entire viewing area now as we begin to look ahead to that next system that's going to be coming our way. Everywhere that you see in the purple, you're under a winter weather advisory that's going to go into effect tomorrow afternoon and take us all the way really into the evening time hours by the time we get you towards Saturday. Now back towards the south and west, places like Dubuque, eastern Iowa, or for northern Wisconsin up towards the Twin Cities, that is where there is a winter storm warning. And folks, these winter weather bulletins go from essentially lower Michigan back towards parts of Texas and New Mexico. Honestly, every state and the lower 48 will in some way, shape, or form be impacted by this system that is coming our way. Now, I've been talking about the ingredients that are needed to create a winter storm for our part of the world. One, we do need the cold air, and if you stepped outside today, you know that that cold air is certainly there. We also need a storm system to develop just towards the south and west in the plains, and this is on the maps. We're going to show you this storm in just a moment. As we go through about the next 12 to 24 hours, we're going to be tapping into that Gulf of Mexico moisture. That's going to be streaming northward towards Wisconsin, and I think that's going to give us what we need to get some snowflakes to fly around here. Here's that system right now. It's bringing snow to parts of Kansas, New Mexico, Texas, and Oklahoma, along with some showers and thunderstorms throughout parts of the Red River Valley. This is the area, though, we're going to be paying attention into tomorrow. Watch how Friday at 5 a.m. we start to see some of the snow back towards the south and west. That begins to increase into our neck of the woods by tomorrow evening. 4 o'clock. Notice how this starts to arrive towards the south and west. We get you towards 6:30. Now that evening commute is really ramping up, and that's when the snow begins to really ramp up as well. Folks who have to travel tomorrow evening, especially from work to home, if you have the option to maybe leave early, I'd maybe see if I could exercise that. Limit as much people as we have on the roads tomorrow evening. I think that'll really do some wonders for the traffic impacts that I think this system is going to have. But let's take you towards 8 o'clock. That heavier snow finally starts to work its way on in here, and we're going to continue to see that heavier snow throughout the overnight hours. I think the heaviest of that snow begins to fall, particularly between about 6 o'clock and about 3 o'clock in the morning. Now, I want to show you how things begin to change once we get you after 3 o'clock in the morning. One of the things you see in this model is this little area where there is no snow. Now, that's not exactly where that's going to set up, but what this is hinting at is some drier air coming into the mix. And when you get a little bit of drier air, you start to lose the ability to produce snowflakes in the clouds. Instead, you end up with freezing rain and freezing drizzle. That's one of the reasons I think there will be some freezing rain and freezing drizzle and sleet that actually mixes in with this rather than it being all snow. And that's going to create some additional issues by the time we head you towards tomorrow. Then by 7:30 a.m. Saturday, I think that last round of snow begins to move through before we taper things off to flurries. The further north you are, the more snow you're going to see. We're talking 5 to 6 inches. Places like the Dells, Portage, Poynette, Partyville, you work your way up towards Westfield, Watoma. That's where you're going to be seeing about 5 to 6 inches of snow. Once you get north of Camp Douglas, Black River Falls, that's where you could say 6 to 8, maybe even 9 inches of snow. But I want to focus on this 3 to 5. That's where we're going to be right here in Madison. But as you work your way closer towards the state line, that's where you're most likely to see that freezing rain and sleet mix in, and that really could eat in on the total. So I want to call places out, such as Beloit and Janesville. That's where it's likely you end up just under this 3 to 5, because if you end up with a little bit more in the way of sleet or freezing rain, well, your snow totals are going to end up just a bit less. But if you work your way up towards northern Dane County, places like Waunakee, that's where you're a little bit more likely to be closer towards that 5-inch range. But here's the deal, folks. Friday morning, clouds will be on the increase. You're going to want that heated seat. It's going to be very cold, but I'm not expecting any issues. But it's Friday evening. That snow does move in for the commute. A wintry mix early Saturday. I think that's going to create some problems. Then after the snow moves away, the cold moves in. We're talking the potential for wind chills as much as 15 to 25 below zero by the time we get you towards the day on Sunday. Then I think the core of that cold air begins to work its way towards the north and east, folks. But here's how things are playing out. It's going to be very breezy alert days for Friday and Saturday. By the way, I failed to truly mention the wind threat that's going to come with this. So I want to talk about that too. There's going to be some blowing and drifting with the snow. That's going to limit visibility. Then we stay cold with more chances for snow by the end of next week.
Right, we'll keep an eye on. Thank you, Chris.
Thanks, Chris.
Wisconsin still gets over half of its electricity from coal power plants, but a big transition is underway.
The move to a cleaner, greener future for our state was the focus of a renewable energy summit today in Madison.
There's a lot of momentum across the country and the world.
Nearly 600 people filled Monona Terrace Convention Center to talk about Wisconsin's renewable energy future at a summit hosted by Renew Wisconsin.
Yeah, we're a nonprofit organization that works on renewable energy, so solar energy, wind, bioenergy, geothermal, and hydropower, and we're also working on electric vehicles now to try to expand these opportunities in Wisconsin.
The summit brought together a wide range of stakeholders and a bipartisan panel of lawmakers, all tackling the economic, technical, and political questions of moving Wisconsin toward clean energy.
We have private companies that do solar installations, that look at wind farms. We have policymakers. We have general public interest. We have a lot of people that work in nonprofit or advocacy. So it's really a wide spectrum of people interested in helping to move this conversation forward.
Young people will drive the agenda, and they're driving it now.
Last year, Governor Tony Evers issued an executive order to try to reach 100% clean energy in Wisconsin by 2050. To people who say this is wonderful in theory, but impractical in reality, you say what?
Well, the technology has changed and the prices have changed. So it's economically competitive. as well as better for the environment. It's not either or anymore, it's both and.
Vanessa Tutos traveled from Houston, Texas to attend the summit. Her company owns and operates wind farms and solar projects all over the country.
I think the public has always been very supportive of renewables in theory, but the cost or the concept of it being more expensive has always held some people back. Now that we are cost competitive with every form of energy generation out there, and the public is starting to recognize that, it is becoming much more embraced.
College students working with my high school students.
More than 40 speakers shared their stories of successful renewable energy projects. Scott Anderson is a math and engineering teacher at Judah High School, a small rural school of only 97 students.
The assignment was to pick a project that helped our school, our community, and our world. And I wanted no reports. I don't read reports, I wanted real actions. The students selected that we're going to reduce our carbon footprint.
Anderson's classes have helped install solar, lower electrical costs, and won multiple grants, helping the school work toward its goal of 10% green energy generated on site.
And I believe every school should have students working on projects like this, because we go to the world and these are the skills we want. Yeah, they're a little idealistic, so be it. Great, let's chase it down, because they quickly learn what they can get done. If Judah can do it, anybody can do it. We're a small community that is just really passionate about it.
We're here now and we know we want to go there. How can we make those next steps to build this future?
The attendance at the summit today was the highest in the 9 years Renew Wisconsin has been hosting the event, and that perhaps was fueled in part by a recent report you may have seen showing that our neighbor Minnesota is leading the clean energy race.
It is inevitable. I mean, we're going to have to get greener.
Yep. It was interesting and inspiring. Just everyone involved in the issue in any way, shape, or form was there today.
And I think the headline there is prices are going down.
Yes.
That's the key.
Right. That is the key.
All right. Thank you, Susan. There's more to come at 4, including a check on the headlines.
And then tonight at 5, why a Baraboo teenager is suing that city's school district. We did that.
For an accurate forecast you can trust, watch First Alert Weather.
It is 4:41. Let's get a look at today's headlines.
Dane County deputies are investigating the death of a Mount Horeb man originally thought to be the victim of a hit and run. The incident happened around 12:45 yesterday on County Highway JG in the town of Blue Mounds. The Dane County medical examiner announced this afternoon the autopsy showed the signs of a homicide.
Chief Justice of the United States John Roberts swore in senators as jurors in the impeachment trial of President Trump. Moments before, Roberts also took an oath to serve as presiding officer. Senators must still vote on the rules of the trial. Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell says that'll happen early next week. The Independent Government Accountability Office issued a legal opinion today that the administration violated the law by withholding the military assistance to Ukraine.
A Wisconsin-based Guard unit said its farewells to family today in Madison. The 15 soldiers who make up the Milwaukee-headquartered 924th Engineer Facilities Detachment are set to deploy to the Middle East. The governor was there to mark the occasion. They'll do some work on a base in Kuwait. All of them have construction and engineering experience.
And we are learning more details today about another incident at Jefferson Middle School. Madison police say a student was taken to the hospital with a concussion after being attacked by a classmate yesterday afternoon. The victim told police he'd been bullied for some time by the boy who hit him. The attacker was removed from the classroom and taken to the Juvenile Reception Center.
Well, still to come tonight at 4, the numbers are in for the latest Marquette Law School poll.
And the poll's director, Charles Franklin, is in the green room. He'll run down the latest poll numbers. There he is when Live at 4 continues.
At Todd Drive right now, we are seeing some slowdowns, especially as you work your way into the eastbound direction. Now, notice those slowdowns. They start on the west side before you get to Verona Road. Those are going to work all the way towards the east side. But one of the things that's creating some problems, especially once you get beyond Todd Drive, is if there is an accident, this is right around that Todd Drive exit. So do plan for some extra time if your commute is going to take you this way. We also do see some slowdowns as you work your way towards campus, outbound on Park Street and Fish Hatchery. Plan for those as well. We'll keep you up to date on the traffic, but be sure to get home safely, folks.
All right, Chris, thank you. Scientists have found that women who are repulsed by the idea of lice, fleas, or ticks are less likely to find beards attractive. They say it could be due to evolutionary fear that such insects carry diseases. This is from the Royal Society of Open Science Journal, whatever that is. Overall, the study found that very masculine faces and those with beards are rated more attractive than clean-shaven faces.
This was an actual study.
It's an actual study. Somebody got paid for this.
Yeah.
So, beard or not. Well, the top Democratic presidential candidates are virtually tied with President Trump in Wisconsin.
And it's less than 3 months before the state's April primary. Those numbers come from the latest Marquette Law School poll. The poll's director, Charles Franklin, is back with us to take a look at the numbers. Hi, Charles. Good to see you.
Good to be here. After that last story, I'm happy to be a political scientist instead of a real scientist.
Yes. Well, things have not changed much, even with impeachment, the impeachment trial.
It's very much as if people enjoyed the holidays and didn't pay much attention to politics for the last 4 weeks. Whether it's Trump's approval, which is just barely a point higher than it was, or the presidential race, which has moved a point or so, but not much more, or the Democratic primary, none of those things have changed in any big ways. And on impeachment, people are pretty much where they were before the holidays as well.
Let's talk about the primaries. You did some head-to-heads.
We did. For the primary, it's the same top four as we've seen all fall. Biden in first, then Sanders. Now Buttigieg in third place, Warren in fourth, but they're within 1 point of each other. The top three didn't change at all from December. Warren dropped off 2 points. That's inside the margin of error for sure, but is in keeping with a little bit of a slippage for her. And then you're all the way down to 6% support, less, single-digit support for Bloomberg and Yang, and 4% for Amy Klobuchar. The real thing to watch for, and I think when we're back in February, we will have seen the Iowa caucus results, we will have seen the New Hampshire primary results. At that point, the Democratic field will start sorting itself out, and voters will move from, here's my first choice right now, to who's really viable and where do I go among the viable candidates. We just don't know who those people will be at this point.
Right. In theoretical head-to-head matchups, Trump versus Biden, Trump versus Warren, what did you see?
There, Biden has a little bit of a lead, a 4-point lead. The margin of error is 4.1 percentage points, so that's just inside the margin of error. Sanders leads Trump by 1 point, but Buttigieg trails by 2, or 1, I think, and Warren trails by 2. So it's tightly bunched. Biden has improved just a little bit each month for the last 3 months and has moved from trailing Trump by a couple of points to now leading him by 4. But all of this is margin of error kinds of differences and changes. It just strongly supports the notion that we are indeed a toss-up state and a battleground.
You also looked at the public's opinion of Trump's dealings with Ukraine.
There, again, not very much change. In terms of whether he did something seriously wrong, it was wrong but not serious, or nothing wrong at all. 37% say nothing wrong at all. That has hardly changed since October when we first asked it. Wrong but not seriously has gone up a little bit, but part of that, I think, is the don't knows have gotten a little bit smaller and people have gone into the wrong but not seriously so.
And about impeachment?
On impeachment, not much change. 44% want the Senate to remove him from office, convict and remove, but 49% say they should acquit him. So that's close to the balance we saw before the holidays and before the House actually voted. In terms of the House vote, 47% approve of the impeachment vote, 49% disapprove of it. So you can see a real tight split there. It's not quite as tight on removal from office.
So no minds are being changed?
No, the evidence that was presented at various stages across the fall didn't move people very much. It seems now we're going to have the Senate trial. That's sort of maybe changed, but it certainly didn't change before.
All right, we'll see you next month.
Very good.
Happy New Year. this is the cutoff, right?
That's right.
No more
Absolute cutoff.
After today, you can't wish
again.
anybody else a Happy New Year.
Until next January.
Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Charles. Good to see you.
We'll be right back with a final check of your forecast.
Roll playback. 3, 2.
Calm before the storm.
The calm before the storm, indeed. We're looking at, in general, about 3 to 5 inches tomorrow. I really want to highlight areas, especially as you work your way towards the south. That is where I do believe you could see a little bit less. I'm talking right along the state line, as there's the potential for some freezing rain. So perhaps maybe 2 or 3 inches there, but don't underestimate the wind, folks. It doesn't matter how much you get. It is certainly going to blow around with winds like this.
All right, keep an eye on it for us. Tomorrow here on Live at 4, it's the 100th anniversary of Prohibition. We'll find out how it affected Wisconsin.
And we'll have live reports from San Francisco as the Packers get ready to take on the 49ers for the NFC title. That's coming up tomorrow on Live at 4. Get your green and gold tomorrow, Mark.